I'm so glad to be walking on this path with you today. So I'd invite you to just take a moment and settle in your chair and let your heart be open. Know that that when we sent out the topic that we probably scared half the people off. You know, we are not here to be told what to do or what to believe. We are here to remember the truth that we already know, the truth that's ingrained in our heart. And we're going to talk about this subject that touches every one of us, and that's the profound liberating power of forgiveness and mercy. In our world of endless news cycles, social media feeds, it can feel as if we're drowning in a sea of judgment, blame, and retaliation. The narrative of getting even or making them pay is constantly being reinforced. It's heavy energy, isn't it? It weighs down our soul, and it touches us in ways that keeps us locked in a cycle of suffering. But we are here to remember a different truth, a truth that sets us free. We're here to remember the principle of oneness, the divine truth that all of us are connected, one to the other, one to everybody we see on television. We are connected. We may not like to think about that, but we are connected. And our master teacher, Jesus, knew that truth, and he taught it through very simple, relatable stories, the parables that cut through the noise and get straight to the heart of the matter. And today we're going to explore two of those parables, the parable of the prodigal son and the parable of the unforgiving servant. These aren't just ancient tales. They are life stories that are metaphysical maps for our own spiritual unfolding. So before we dive in, we're going to ground ourselves in one truth, and that truth is from the book of Luke 6:37. Do not judge, and you will not be judged. Do not condemn, and you will not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. Now, metaphysically, this verse is not about God keeping a cosmic ledger and saying that if we don't do those things, God won't do those things. No, it's about an affirmation of that principle that we talked about, the law of mind action. It's a universal principle. It teaches us that the inner state of mind is a creative force. And when we hold the consciousness of judgment and blame and condemnation, we're creating a world where we too are judged and condemned. When we release the burden of unforgiveness, we can find the way to inner peace and our own freedom. We're not just forgiving another person, we are forgiving a part of our own consciousness that is held on to pain and separation. Our co-founder, Myrtle Fillmore, said, forgiveness is the key to our personal freedom. Philosopher Hannah Arendt echoed that. She said almost the exact same thing. She said, forgiveness is the key to action and freedom. They both understood the weight that we carry when we are holding on to something. The weight that we carry from past grudges and things that we can't let go of. It's like carrying around a backpack filled with rocks. Forgiveness is not about condoning the action of another person. It's about releasing ourselves from the emotional and spiritual consequences of the action. It's a choice we make for our own well-being. We're beginning with the parable, the parable of the prodigal son, which is in Luke 15. And I know that every one of us knows that story really well. You know, the younger son asks for his inheritance, and he takes it off to a far land, remembering that a far land could have been 2 blocks away, but a far land emotionally. He squanders all of his fortune. He finds himself in a state of destitution. He's so desperate that this good Jewish boy is reduced to feeding the pigs and longing for their food, eating the scraps of their food. And all of a sudden, he comes to himself. He comes to himself. What does that mean? He has an awakening. He decides to return home, prepared to be a hired hand rather than a son. But his father, seeing him coming, runs toward him with open arms and love. He can't even say his prepared speech because his father is already hugging him and loving him and celebrating. Metaphysically, each one of us is the prodigal son. The distant land is a state of consciousness where we believe that we are separate from God, from the universal mind, and that we're separate from our good. And guess what? We spend a lot of time squandering our divine inheritance, our potential, our wholeness, our inner peace, by making choices that are not in alignment with our true nature. We end up in a place of spiritual poverty, feeding on thoughts of lack and fear and unworthiness. But at our lowest point, and many of us have had those low points, sometimes we have to have a lot of low points to get it. We come to ourselves. We remember who we truly are. We remember that we're children of God. And that's a moment of spiritual awakening. The turning point is when we decide to turn away from those fear and negative thoughts and turn our thoughts toward God. And the Father and the Son, the Father is the universal presence of God. We call it God, divine mystery, whatever your name for God is. It's the all-encompassing love that never leaves us. No matter how far we've strayed or what we've done, this unconditional love is always watching. It's always waiting. It's always ready for us to turn around and come back, and it will meet us. We don't have to earn our way back. There's nothing we have to do. The minute we turn our consciousness toward divine love and toward God, we are already forgiven and welcomed. This is a profound and beautiful illustration of how Spirit meets us, where we are. Not where we should be, but where we are. Our healing is in the turning, is in the decision to align ourselves with love, with good, with what's true, with what's beautiful. It's a reminder that no matter how messy our past has been, we are always just one thought away from returning to our wholeness. It doesn't matter how messy we are right now today. All we have to do is turn our thought to God. And so the other parable that I wanted to talk about is the parable of the unforgiving servant. That's in Matthew 18. And the servant owes the king an enormous debt. And he goes to the king and he begs for mercy. And the king absolves him. He's moved with compassion and he forgives the entire debt. And the servant leaves and goes out and he finds a fellow servant who owes him a little bit of money. And he demands that money be paid. And when the servant can't pay that money to the other servant, he has him thrown in debtor's prison. Now, when the king hears of this, he's furious. and delivers the unforgiving servant to be tortured until he can pay his original debt. Now, this parable is a spiritual mirror. The king represents divine mind, and the unpayable debt is the spiritual debt we all accumulate when we live in a consciousness of separation, or when we live in those places of fear and lack, when we carry grudges and resentments and judgments that are so massive they block our very expression and experience of abundance and peace. The king's forgiveness is symbolic of the immense, unconditional mercy that we are always bathed with by Spirit, by God. God always loves us. God's always forgiving us. When we turn to God, we are always accepted and loved. And the unforgiving servant whose small debt that the other servant has is, it's symbolic of that offense that we hold on to, where someone does something or says something and it seems so significant in that moment that we can't think about anything else. In fact, we can spend all day reliving and rehearing the conversation or the event where the driver cut us off in traffic, or where the person got in the 10-item line with 50 pieces. We replay the event, the angry conversation, and we justify our resentment. Can you think of a time you've done that? Can you think of a time you've done that this week? We are so focused on the minor offense that we lose sight of the immense mercy we ourselves have been given. The person we're unwilling to forgive is an expression of the divine, just as we are. When we refuse to forgive them, we're holding up a finger to the universe, and you notice which finger I'm using, and saying, the law of good doesn't apply here. That law of good doesn't apply to this person. My grievance is more important than your love and oneness. And of course, it's not up there, it's in here. This is where we get stuck. We get stuck holding on to stuff. And the pain we hold on to and that we inflict on others is the torture the unforgiving servant endures. So metaphysically, when the king throws that servant in for torture, you and I are thrown into torture by our own self. We are the ones who suffer when we refuse to let go. Our unwillingness to extend mercy cuts us off from the very flow of good that we are so desperately seeking. Forgiveness isn't a passive idea, it's a verb. It's a conscious, intentional act of will. It's not about an emotional feeling. It's a decision to release feelings. This is where we bring these spiritual principles into our daily lives. There was a woman named Sarah who held on to a deep resentment to her brother. They had been in business together, and he had done something that caused her to lose quite a bit of money. And she replayed the event over and over in her mind. It covered every interaction that she had. She felt a constant low-level anger. And there was a knot in her stomach that never went away. She prayed for peace. She meditated. But the feeling persisted. It was as if she was still carrying that heavy backpack full of rocks. Then during a process that we used, we asked each person to visualize the person that they held something against, and in their mind's eye to say, I release you, I release you, I forgive you, I release you. And then we said, turn the image around and see yourself and say, I release myself. I forgive myself for holding on to this pain. I release myself. And so right this moment, let's do that. You might want to close your eyes and think of whatever you've been holding on to. It might be something big. It might be something little. Doesn't matter. Whatever comes to mind. Bring a picture of that person or situation to mind. And with all of your love and mercy, say, I release you. I release you. I forgive you. I release you. I release you. I release you. I forgive you. I release you. And then turn the image around and see yourself. And to yourself say, I release myself. I forgive myself for holding on to this pain. I release myself. I release myself. I forgive myself for holding on to this pain. I release myself. And you can open your eyes and come back into this now moment. I don't know if any of you felt a sense of lightness when you did that, because that's what Sarah felt when she did it. She felt a sudden and profound lightness. And it wasn't excusing her brother's actions. She was simply deciding that she would no longer carry the weight of his actions on her shoulders. And the knot in her stomach began to loosen, and the first time in years she felt a genuine sense of peace. Forgiveness didn't change the past, but it absolutely transformed her present moment and her future. It was an act of self-love, of self-compassion, a conscious decision to choose her own well-being over being righteous. Mercy is the active, outward expression of forgiveness. It's what happens when forgiveness moves from a state of mind into a demonstrated reality. And you know, we all have the opportunities every single day. Maybe it's how we respond to a frustrated driver on a road, or how we respond to a rude coworker, or a family member who says something hurtful. I don't know how many of you watched the show Ted Lasso.
Love Ted Lasso.
In the show, he consistently chooses mercy over judgment. He is a walking embodiment of this spiritual principle. When people are cruel to him, he doesn't retaliate. He looks for the underlying pain that caused their behavior. He sees not just the person's actions, but the suffering that drives them to do those actions. And how does he respond? He responds with a kind word, an unexpected gift, or a gentle reflective question. He doesn't hold grudges. His entire philosophy is based on this idea of releasing the debt and offering compassion, even when it isn't deserved. Who knew that TV was going to teach a Bible story? Ted's mercy is not a sign of weakness. It's a profound display of inner strength. By choosing to respond with grace and loving energy, he disarms the negative energy that he's met with. That often creates an opening for deeper connection. His example reminds us that our primary job is not to police the actions of others, but to be a constant source of light and love, no matter the circumstances. And what did we sing when we opened? This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. That light of love and forgiveness and mercy that we have inside of us, we're going to let it shine. When we practice mercy, we're not just helping another person. We're reinforcing our alignment with the divine. We're strengthening our capacity for compassion. We're creating a more harmonious world, a place where everyone gets some healing, one interaction at a time. We become the very thing that we seek to experience. And that's how we change the planet. That's how we create peace here on earth. I know that the path of love and mercy is not an easy one. It asks us to look at our own pain and to release it, to choose freedom. To choose freedom over resentment. To see the divine spark within every person. As I look out, I see that divine spark in each and every one of you. Sometimes that divine spark is hidden behind a mask of fear or ignorance. But seeing beyond that to the divine within every person is the only path that leads to true and everlasting peace. So today we are affirming that we are a creator of our reality. We choose to release all judgments and condemnations. We extend mercy to others just as we receive mercy from the universal presence. We are free and we're at peace and we are whole when we do that. And that, my friends, is really the truth.